over a decade. So there is varying parts of the country that are in various stages. But to get back to your question on federal change, I think the thought process was with the Democrats coming into the majority in Congress and, of course, with the presidency, the thought was that there would be meaningful change more quickly, post-election. You saw stocks rally around that sentiment, if you will, in the hopes that we would see something more meaningful quickly. Unfortunately, that has not been the case. There have been a number of proposals that have come forward, but they haven't been able to get traction in both houses. The MORE Act, as an example, which we expect to be voted on again on Friday, has already passed the House previously. I would expect for it to have passed.
You don't sound optimistic.
Well, I expect it to pass again. I think the issue is that it's between the House and the Senate, right, in terms of whether or not we're going to see the ability to coalesce and reach a compromise that can pass both houses.
All right, we got to run. Kim, thank you so much. Kim Rivers, she's the Chief Executive Officer of TrueLeave via Zoom from Tallahassee.
Hey, I want to get to a headline making its way across the terminal now. The SEC chief casting doubt on an imminent deal to avoid a China delisting. We're talking Gary Gensler tamping down speculation that a deal is brewing to keep about 200 Chinese stocks from losing their listing, signaling that only total compliance with U.S. audit inspections will allow the companies to keep trading on American markets.
The SEC chief, his tough words showing that the U.S. remains unwavering in its demand that American regulators get full access to the audit. So again, reminding us of that complicated relationship between the U.S. and China. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Carol Master, Tim Stenvik. This is Bloomberg.
Join Brian Curtis and Doug Krisner at 6 p.m. Wall Street time for Bloomberg Daybreak Asia. Tonight's guests include William Lee, chief economist at the Milken Institute, on his outlook for the Asian economy. That's Daybreak Asia, tonight at 6 on Bloomberg Radio.
As the war in Ukraine continues,
we zero in on energy as a commodity and as a weapon.
Bloomberg Washington correspondent Joe Matthew brings you the latest headlines every weekday afternoon.
The EU approving new sanctions against Russian oligarchs.
Along with analysis from DC's most respected news team.
Vladimir Putin's kind of playing into the narrative of being the bad guy.
Bloomberg Sound On with Joe Matthew. Weekday afternoons at 5 on Bloomberg 1130, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com.
If you have a small business, Staples has your sign.
Banners for my bakery?
Staples has your sign.
Oh, posters for my new pet store.
Or decals for fun. Every day, Staples associates help every kind of small business create bold signs to make big impressions. And now get $10 off custom signs, banners, and posters when you spend $50 or more. This is your sign, so print it big at Staples. Ends 5/28. Visit staplesconnect.com/thisisyoursign for details.
When you subscribe to Bloomberg, you will get more than news. You will get inspiration to feed your ambition. You will put a woman on Mars. You will refreeze the ice caps. You will be the first chief crypto officer. You will power change and redefine the future. But before you invent, pioneer, disrupt, before you change the world, Bloomberg. Discover more at Bloomberg.com/you-will.
70% of the Fortune 100 choose Zoom. With phone, chat, workspaces, apps, events, and video in a single platform, Zoom powers all your communications. Large enterprises, small businesses, and individuals use the secure Zoom platform to enable new ways of working, learning, hosting events, and supporting their customers. And now you can save 15% on meetings, chat, and phone with the Zoom United bundle. Visit zoom.com/bundle. Zoom, how the world connects.
Are you interested in a challenging and exciting career in the New York metro area? One where you can be part of solving complex challenges across industries and geographies. Bloomberg's ever-expanding technology, data, news, and media services foster innovation, empower clients, and offer nearly limitless opportunities for career growth. Visit Bloomberg.com/careers to view our current job opportunities in New York and Princeton, New Jersey. Bloomberg LP is an equal opportunity employer. The address once again is Bloomberg.com/careers.
This is an emergency Ukraine appeal from UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency. Your help is needed now. Vulnerable people are being forced to flee. They need emergency shelter, blankets, and basic relief items. Please go online to unhcr.org/donate Ukraine to give what you can today. Families are scared and need life-saving support. Please give what you can to help people in need. Just go online to unhcr.org/donate Ukraine. Thank you.
Are you in possession of gold, silver, or platinum? Maybe even some rare coins or old paper money that you'd like to sell? Stack's Bowers Galleries offers top dollar with immediate cash payment and is one of the largest, most trusted and ethical dealers and auctioneers of numismatic items in the U.S. for 90 years. Come visit our location on Park Avenue between 57th and 58th today for a free, no-obligation appraisal of your precious metal bullion items, rare coins, or old paper money. Whether you're in the market to buy or sell your valuable coins or precious metal, we can help. For more information or to speak to a trusted specialist, just call us at 212-582-2580. That's 212-582-2580. We'll help turn your collectibles into a generous cash payment today. Visit us in person or online at stacksbowers.com. That's STACKS Bowers.com. Stop by one of our locations today in New York City, Philadelphia, or Boston, coming in 2022.
It's 4:29 on Wall Street. Time for Drive Time Traffic. We do it every 15 minutes right here on Bloomberg Radio. Ed Kalegi, the Long Island Expressway in Queens. What do you see?
Tim, if you're someone looking to kill 37 minutes, according to the computer, that's how long it'll take you to travel the BQE, or actually the LIE, all these acronyms, the LIE eastbound from the BQE out to East Hampton Boulevard. Again, nearly 40 minutes for that journey right now. Looks more like 5:30 than 4:30 right now. The Jackie Robinson eastbound into Kew Gardens very slow, but at least a broken down car has been cleared away. It's a very heavy ride. Both sides of Manhattan all the way up to the bridge. Neither side will help. They're both very slow. Outbound Holland Tunnel 30 minutes, 5 in for both approaches. And about 15 to 20 minutes to leave over at the Lincoln Tunnel, and about 5 minutes coming back in. The Bloomberg 11:30 3-day weather for tonight: cloudy, low 40 to 45. Thursday afternoon showers, breezy, high near 70. Friday partly sunny, breezy, high 55 to 60. Saturday a sunny day, high 50 to 55. In New York right now, skies are partly sunny. We're at 45 degrees. This report brought to you by Anshin Accountants and Advisors, proactively identifying tax savings opportunities so that you're not leaving money on the table. Visit Anshin.com. Once again, 45 degrees in New York, and with the best ride in and out of the city, I'm Ed Kalegi, Bloomberg 11:30. Bloomberg Business Week continues.
Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130. To Washington, D.C., Bloomberg 99.1. To Boston, Bloomberg 106.1. To San Francisco, Bloomberg 960. To the country, Sirius XM Channel 119. And around the globe, the Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
All right, you are listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Virtually every CEO we spoke to emphasized the importance of having a clear point of view on where the world is going. That's not Tim and I, although I feel like we might do that too, but that's in a new book.
It is. The book is called CEO Excellence, the 6 mindsets that distinguish the best leaders from the rest. We're going to have an in-depth conversation in just a few minutes with one of the authors of that book. First, though, Charlie Pellet, give us an update on the market.
It was a down day, Tim, with the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ all declining for the first time in 5 days. Hopes faded for de-escalation in the war in Ukraine. Investors were assessing the risks to economic growth from accelerating inflation. Today, we have the tech-heavy NASDAQ 100 index down 1.1%. NASDAQ Composite Index down 1.2%, lower by 177 points. S&P down 29, lower by 0.6, while the Dow dropped 65, down by 0.2%. Stocks did bounce off the bottom, but still a down day for the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ. 10-year yield 2.35%, the 2-year yield 2.30%. Spot gold up 0.7%, 19.33 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude oil up 3.1%, 107.44 for a barrel of WTI. Well, as for the market backdrop, Aaron Kennan is CEO at Clear Harbor Asset Management. He was our guest right here on Bloomberg Business Week.
I do worry that the ebbing of liquidity that we will still very much see this year, that is to say higher Fed funds rates by more than 200 basis points is already in the cards, and a disappearance of the fiscal stimulus, which was extraordinary in 2020 and 21, will eventually come to the fore and into the psyche and into the market as it pertains to how investors think about equity valuations.
FedEx is partnering with Elroy Air. It's a startup that makes a large cargo drone to test moving packages by air with no pilot on board. The hybrid-powered electric aircraft can fly about 300 miles with as much as 500 pounds of cargo in a detachable pod. And the SEC has added Baidu to a growing list of companies that may face removal because of Beijing's refusal to permit U.S. officials to review their auditors' work. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Charlie, thank you so much. Well, not all CEOs are created equal. According to some research, 30% of Fortune 500 CEOs last fewer than 3 years in the role. 2 out of 5 new CEOs are deemed to be failing within 18 months. So what makes a great leader?
It's a question that our next guest, along with her co-author, set out to answer in a new book. It's called CEO Excellence, the 6 Mindsets that Distinguish the Best Leaders from the Rest. Carolyn Dewar is senior partner at McKinsey & Company, also the co-author of that book. She joins us on the phone from the Bay Area. Carolyn, how are you?
Super. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, I just want to jump right into it because you have some incredible names in here. I mean, we're talking about CEOs of Netflix, JP Morgan Chase, General Motors, Sony, and more. But what is it that sets apart an excellent CEO from a mediocre CEO, or even a CEO that is going to fail after 18 months?
Absolutely. We set out to answer 2 questions. What is the CEO role anyway, right? There's so much mythology around it. But second and most important is what really sets excellent ones apart. So we dove deep to identify who has really excelled in the role and spent one-on-one time with each of these names, as you said, and to really say, what is it that sets you apart? And it turns out it's actually more important how you think. What is your mindset? And from that comes all the behaviors that help you excel.
All right, I want to take a step back because I'm curious how you came up with the list of CEOs you wanted to talk to. What were the metrics that said to you, okay, these are excellent CEOs that are worth tapping into their thinking and having a conversation with?
Sure, absolutely. And as you can imagine at McKinsey, we took a quantitative approach and made sure it was fact-based. We started with all the folks who've been CEOs of Fortune 2000 companies in the last 20 years. And we filtered them on a couple of dimensions. First, they had to be top 2 quintiles in performance. So excess TRS versus others in their industry. We wanted them to have been in role for at least 6 years, so that they've been in role long enough to have a track record and to have had to eat their own cooking, if you will. And then we did a screen for any reputation, behavior flags, things that we thought were important. And that took what started off as several thousand people down to a list of 200. And with those, we had the opportunity to sit one-on-one with nearly 70 of them.
Talk about some of the people on this list because it's an incredible group of people. We're talking Reed Hastings, Jamie Dimon, Steve Schwartzman, and more.
Mary Barra.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was an incredible list. And as you say, we did push hard to make sure we had great diversity too. So there are folks across industries, across countries, and gender and ethnic diversity as well. Also a range of ownership structures. So what you'll see is we did not over-index on founder CEOs. So some of the big names you may expect to see aren't there. We do have Reed Hastings, we have some others. But frankly, founder CEOs have degrees of freedom that regular CEOs don't. And we wanted to make sure the insights applied broadly. And to that point, we were really surprised with some of the names you might not recognize, right? That aren't necessarily the celebrity CEOs, but have consistently delivered tremendously well. You think about folks like Doug Baker at Ecolab, Ivan at Diageo, folks that maybe fly under the radar, but just are delivering year after year.
You know, it's interesting, and I think about, to be fair, we talk to a lot of individuals who've written books about leadership, and I think we're always kind of in search for what makes the ideal leader. How from someone who has probably been following this for some time, how it's evolved, especially in the last couple of years because of the pandemic, because of a rise conversation when it comes to diversity, inequities, inclusion. How has it kind of evolved, if you will, in terms of leadership?
Absolutely. You know, the 6 jobs of a CEO have remained constant, and there's a lot of them, right? They have to set direction, get their organization right, their top team, their board, their stakeholders, and themselves. But I do think there's an evolution in terms of, you know, how boldly leaders are being asked to think and how broadly they're mandated. Right? So 3 questions, or 3 things that we heard from CEOs and how it's changed even in the last 2 years. One is this push to be 10 times bolder than they ever thought before. right? We've now proven to ourselves that we can move quickly and pivot on a dime because we've had to, right? Look at entire supply chains or business models, digital transformations that were supposed to take 3 years that happened in 3 weeks at the beginning of the pandemic. And so CEOs are now saying, now that we know we can move quickly, where else should we, challenge those assumptions and apply that same kind of speedy thinking? And what enabled us to move so fast, right? CEOs were skipping levels. They weren't waiting for, 5 levels of PowerPoint before they got an idea. They were moving fast.
Right.
So being bold was a biggie. There were others, too, around stakeholders and how they have to show up.
Well, hang on for a second, Carolyn. We just got to do a little bit of news, but we'll come back and continue the conversation. We're going to come back to Carolyn, to our senior partner over at McKinsey & Company. Her new book out, CEO Excellence, The 6 Mindsets That Distinguish the Best Leaders from the Rest. And we'll get back to her in just a moment.
In the meantime, let's get to Washington, D.C., where we find Nancy Lyons. She gives us an update of world and national news. Hey there, Nancy.
Thanks, Tim. There is at least one Republican senator who will be voting to confirm Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. Senator Susan Collins of Maine says she'll back President Biden's nominee.
I decided that she had the qualifications, the experience, and the credentials that we require of a Supreme Court justice and warranted my support.
Senator Collins says she does not know how the rest of her GOP colleagues will vote. A yes vote from Collins, though, a moderate Republican from Maine, does allow the White House to call Jackson's confirmation bipartisan. Democrats on Capitol Hill are mounting a new push to send gasoline rebate checks to drivers. Bloomberg's Nathan Hager has more from Washington.
In a letter to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Majority Whip Steny Hoyer, 4 Democratic lawmakers say they could pay for relief from the 18.4-cent federal gas tax by eliminating nearly a dozen tax breaks for the oil and gas industry. That includes deductions for intangible drilling costs and low production wells. The industry says it needs the breaks for cost recovery. President Biden asked Congress to eliminate some of those tax provisions in his budget proposal this week. In Washington, I'm Nathan Hager, Bloomberg Radio.
Well, the highest mortgage interest rates in 4 years are driving down refinance applications. The national average interest rate for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage shot up to 4.8%. That's the highest it's been since 2018, and that tanked refinance applications by 15% and left them 60% lower than this time last year. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Bloomberg Quick Take, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Nancy Lyons.
All right, Nancy Lyons, thank you so much. Carol Master, Tim Stanovic, live in our Interactive Broker studio. We mentioned a headline. We want to dig a little bit deeper into this story by Robert Schmidt and Ben Bain having to do with SEC Chair Gary Gensler.
Yeah, this is coming from an interview.